Good morning, everyone. I am the Reverend Ellen Quadgrass, minister here at South Church, serving in shared ministry with Kirsten Hunter, our Director of Lifespan Ministry, who is currently on sabbatical, but surely with us in spirit. And I am glad to be serving in shared ministry with all of you on this Sunday, as we anticipate the troubling, pivotal day in this nation happening tomorrow. Welcome to this place, this sanctuary, a place to find rest, care, warmth, and safety. Welcome to this place where together we work to make a difference in the lives of others within the walls and beyond them. Welcome to this place to heal your spirit and to help heal the world. I'm so glad to be with all of you here this morning. Today is not only the day before a historic and unsettling inauguration, it is also Martin Luther King Jr. Sunday, a day when we honor the legacy of a leader who called for justice, equality, and the beloved community. And it is an irony as we stand on the brink of an era that threatens to undermine every one of those ideals. As we honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy of justice and equity, may we also acknowledge that we are situated on the ancestral lands of the Pennacook and Wabanaki peoples. These indigenous communities cared for this land for generations before colonization, and continue to uphold their cultures and traditions despite centuries of displacement and systemic harm. Dr. King's call for justice reminds us that the work of equity must include acknowledging and addressing the ongoing impacts of colonization on indigenous communities. Today we honor the resilience and wisdom of the Pennacook and Wabanaki peoples and commit ourselves to the shared struggle for justice, equity, and liberation for all. I am grateful to be leading the service today with Data Kuiper Phelps as our worship associate, with Molly Petrick offering the gift of music on piano, and Jen Leiden leading our hymns. Tech today is Ben Abbott, and Jen Deldeo Berry will tell our Time for All Ages story, after which our young people are invited to religious education classes downstairs. Parents, please be sure to sign them in if you have not already. Our decathlon is going strong. If you didn't get a card 2 Sundays ago, there are some in the back if you want one. Don't forget that participating is not only inherently satisfying, there are also external rewards. And in case you forgot what those are, I will be downstairs offering stars for those of you who feel like you've done a wonderful spiritual practice this week. Everyone is invited downstairs for coffee, treats, and conversation after the service, and your question to ask someone you do not know well: if you could have a conversation with Dr. King, what is the first question you would ask him? Or what's one small thing that you could do to make your community more kind? Please silence your electronic devices as we now have a few announcements.
Good morning. I'll let you go first. I'm gonna hand it over to Janet real quick. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Janet Pulaski, and I'm here as a member of the MLK Committee to remind you of the breakfast and program tomorrow commemorating Martin Luther King's work and rededicating ourselves to carrying it forward. It's here, of course. The by donation breakfast is served downstairs from 8:30 to 10, and the program in the sanctuary runs from 10 until 12. For so many of you who were here yesterday when Reverend Ellen organized and ran us, when all of us led a People's March that was literally standing room only in the sanctuary. At this moment, it is important to reconnect and re-energize for the road ahead. I'm writing the history of South Church right now, and 200 years ago, when our ancestors built us a granite church with steps leading into the center of the city, I can't help but believe it was for weekends like this. Reverend Ellen, accompanying Susie Burke, reminded us yesterday to keep on moving forward in love, or in the words of Martin Luther King, when we cannot walk alone, we cannot walk alone. And as we walk, we must make the pledge that we shall march ahead. We cannot turn back. So please join us tomorrow, 8:30 to 10, for a by-donation pancake breakfast, and then come upstairs from 10 to 12 for the program. Thanks.
Thank you, Janet. Couple of quick announcements. If you are a South Church member, you should have gotten an email this weekend about the annual meeting next Sunday after worship. If you did not get that email, I'm not going to be here next Sunday. I'm going to be at the UNH Wedding Expo, so we can try and get some more weddings in this beautiful space. So if you didn't get that information, you got to let me know before Sunday morning, or you're not going to get it. Send me an email. I will reply to that email with all of the information that went out this weekend. Just make sure that you get that email out to me, because again, if you don't, well, then you can email me, and then I'll email you. So just make sure you do that before Sunday, because again, I won't be able to get it to you on Sunday. The covenant group that is advertised in your order of service meeting on February 2nd is not going to be happening, the drop-in covenant group, but covenant groups are doing a mid-session sign-up right now, so if you are interested in learning a little bit more about what covenant groups are, you can reach out to the Learning Associates. If you already know that you want to join one, you can fill out the WFU form. Janet mentioned concert tomorrow, annual meeting, and the last announcement I have is about the Beloved Conversations event that some of our members are hosting. So a small group have formed a group, exploring personal histories and that of our BIPOC brothers and sisters. And every February, the Black Heritage Trail offers Sunday tea talks about a specific topic. So you can attend the tea talks this February by registering at the Black Heritage Trail website, and then join us downstairs on February 2nd, and again on, I believe, February 23rd at 3:45 to have a discussion about the tea talks on those days. You can find the information on the Black Heritage Trail website. Everything else is in your order of service. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Sounds like freedom. Somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do?
As we light the chalice here, we invite those at home to light a chalice or candle of their own. Our chalice lighting words today are by Martin Luther King, Jr. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Now please join me in body or spirit in reciting our mission statement. At South Church, we nurture spiritual growth through worship, learning, and community. We celebrate the worth and dignity of all people and inspire one another to act on our faith in the larger community. Unity has always been the key to change. We must learn to live together as brothers, or we will all perish together as fools, Martin Luther King Jr. said. We need to be one people to adapt to this rapidly metamorphosing world. But honestly, making those little connections with people that builds the unity we need, harnessing all that hope from scratch, can be so tiring. On a smaller scale, at my school, I've failed many times to have this energy for unity. My French class is exhausting. The dynamics are chaotic, and the pressure of the teacher's vocal disbelief in our French skills falls on my shoulders every time I enter the room. The other day, my friend was trying to chat with me on our way to this class, but I couldn't seem to engage with her like I would have been able to 10 minutes earlier. I remember articulating this to her as, "I'm sorry, this dread is taking my brain cells away." It's difficult to carry hope and connect with people when you're in a setting of anxiety. I found I feel this sense of dread a lot at school. The pressure of academic demands and constant socialization leaves me drained. I think this is a widely mutual feeling for high school people and beyond. I want to make real friendships and have solid interactions with people around me, but in these specific settings that bring upon anxiety, my priorities are often staying awake, passing that test, getting through the day. This isn't the setting for profound connections, but does that mean us teenagers, zombified by the demands of education and the pressures of reality, are going to, as MLK put it, perish together as fools? I don't think so. I hope not. I'm lucky to have communities where my hope is rooted, where socialization is easy and unity blooms, one of them being South Church Senior Youth. This is a setting where love and connection take precedence over everything. The process of bonding with people isn't draining here, as there is no pressure, no priorities, no judgment, just effortless identities. This is the purpose of Senior Youth, building real connections between each other to sculpt trust for when we go on our service learning trips. Everything we do is oriented around opening our minds to each other so we can open our minds to the people we meet in the places we visit. I think the way we unify in the places that drain our energy is by compartmentalizing the pressure. By letting the tension go for a second, like I do in Senior Youth, I'm able to connect with my friend on our way to French class. By not thinking about that test on my way through the hallway, I'm able to smile at my classmates. This is my vision for personally not perishing as a fool. Banding together can save us some exhaustion if we allow for an ease in our connections. No pressure, no judgment, no priorities, just effortless identities looking each other in the eyes. Now please join me in body or spirit in singing our opening hymn, number 210, in your gray hymnal titled Wade in the Water.
Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. See that band all dressed in white. God's gonna trouble the water. It looks like the land of Israelite. God's gonna trouble the water. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children, wade in gonna trouble the water. See that band all dressed in red. God's gonna trouble the water. It looks like the band that Moses led. God's gonna trouble the water. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. God's gonna trouble the water. God's gonna trouble the water.
Okay, anybody who would like to hear the story of this book from a little bit closer, come on up and join us in this spot. We have a book today called The Other Side. And it's written by Jacqueline Woodson, and it's illustrated by E.B. Lewis. And it takes place roughly during the time that Dr. Martin Luther King was alive. We're probably going to have the pictures up here.
We're trying.
Oh, we're getting closer. Yay! The Other Side. That summer, the fence that stretched through our town seemed bigger. We lived in a yellow house on one side of it. White people lived on the other. And Mama said, "Don't climb over that fence when you play." She said it wasn't safe. That summer, there was a girl who wore a pink sweater. Each morning, she climbed up on the fence and stared over at our side. Sometimes I stared back. She never sat on that fence with anybody, that girl didn't. Once, when we were jumping rope, she asked if she could play, and my friend Sandra said no without even asking the rest of us. I don't know what I would have said. Maybe yes, maybe no. That summer, everyone and everything on the other side of that fence seemed far away. When I asked my mama why, she said, "Because that's the way things have always been." Sometimes when me and Mama went into town, I saw that girl with her mama. She looked sad sometimes, that girl did. "Don't stare," my mama said. "It's not polite." It rained a lot that summer. On rainy days, that girl sat on the fence in a raincoat. She let herself get all wet and acted like she didn't even care. Sometimes I saw her dancing around in puddles, splashing and laughing. Mama wouldn't let me go out in the rain. "That's why I bought you rainy day toys," my mama said. "You stay inside here where it's warm and safe and dry." But every time it rained, I looked for that girl, and I always found her somewhere near that fence. Someplace in the middle of the summer, the rain stopped. When I walked outside, the grass was damp and the sun was already high up in the sky. And I stood there with my hands up in the air. I felt brave that day. I felt free. I got close to the fence and that girl asked me my name. "Clover," I said. "My name's Annie," she said. "Annie Paul. I live over yonder," she said, "by where you see the laundry. That's my blouse hanging on the line." She smiled then. She had a pretty smile. And then I smiled, and we stood there looking at each other, smiling. "It's nice up on this fence," Annie said. "You can see all over." I ran my hand along the fence. I reached up and touched the top of it. "A fence like this was made for sitting on," Annie said. She looked at me sideways. "My mama says I shouldn't go on the other side," I said. "My mama says the same thing, but she never said nothing about sitting on it." "Neither did mine," I said. That summer, me and Annie sat together on that fence. And when Sandra and them looked at me funny, I just made believe I didn't care. Some mornings, my mama watched us, so I waited for her to tell me to get down from that fence before I break my neck or something. But she never did. "I see you made a new friend," she said one morning. And I nodded, and Mama smiled. That summer, me and Annie sat on that fence and watched the whole wide world around us. One day, Sandra and them were jumping rope near the fence, and we asked if we could play. "I don't care," Sandra said. And when we jumped, Sandra and me were partners the way we used to be. When we were too tired to jump anymore, we sat up on the fence, all of us in a long line. "Someday, somebody's going to come along and knock this old fence down," Annie said. And I nodded. "Yeah," I said, "someday." And now, let's go downstairs for some fun projects.
During the month of January, our collection will be shared with the Joan G. Lovering Health Center. Lovering Health is dedicated to providing confidential, comprehensive, and accurate sexual and reproductive health information and services to all in a supportive environment. It is their passion to honor, respect, and advocate for the right of everyone to maintain freedom and choices regarding their own sexual and reproductive health. Please give as you are able. The offering will now be gratefully received.
we give thanks for this precious day. We're all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
Let us gather our hearts and minds in a spirit of prayer or meditation. Spirit of life and love, be with us in this moment, even as we are here with one another. May we take in the love and attention that are in this room, even as we strive to be attentive ourselves. May we allow the rhythm of the breath to center us, ground us, steady us, when there is so much to attend to. We bring our hearts to those affected by the wildfires in California and everyone touched by this tragedy. It is difficult to comprehend the scale of devastation, but let us take in the stories of hope amidst the hardship, like the one of a neighbor hosing down the house of another who saved it, or of a family bringing around food and clothes to others to help them. May we take in the stories of kindness so that we can be reminded of the enduring spirit of humanity and let it flow through us too. As we witness the ongoing tensions in the Middle East, we hold our breath with hope that the ceasefire will hold, that we have passed the worst, that something new might be possible, even as we continue to mourn the incalculable losses from these last 15 months. And may we remember also the people in our own community who need our love. Donna Waldron is grieving the loss of her mother who died just this week, is traveling with Marty for the funeral. Please hold them both in your hearts. And Connie Fryermuth, who has faced repeated hospitalizations, is now settling into a new community and welcomes visits from those who know her. Just be sure to call first. And for so many others among us carrying struggles we cannot see, may you know you are not alone. This community is here for you. I am here for you. There are resources and helping hands here if you need them. And let us not forget the joys among us. Maybe it's seeing fresh snow on the roof across the street like I did this week. Maybe it's the comfort of a favorite blanket in the cold or laughter shared around a dinner table. Joy can feel fragile sometimes, but it is no less real. Let us treasure moments of beauty and gratitude also, knowing that they are the light that lifts us and heals us. Spirit of life and love, may we hold all of this now, our sorrow, our fear, our hope, and our joy within the sacred circle of this moment. And in that circle, I invite you in a moment to come forward and light a candle that represents something in your spirit, a joy, a sorrow, a fear, or a love. Please feel free to come forward as the music begins, or simply take this time to reflect and pause and breathe and center. May we hold all the joys and the sorrows represented by these candles and that are in the hearts of each of you. May we hold them in the sacred circle of this community. Amen. On November 5th, 2024, there was an election. On November 6th, 2024, I started running. Now, I don't like to run. Makes my legs hurt, my lungs tight, and my bones ache. I find it very uncomfortable. Then why are you doing this, Reverend Ellen? You might logically ask yourself. My attitude makes me unlikely to be a candidate for Runner's World Next Poster Child. I'm also not competing to be the fastest. If you think of someone who runs so slowly they are almost walking, I'm just a smidge slower than that. Someone suggested maybe I do this because I'm running away from something. Someone else suggested that perhaps it's a stress response, or maybe I do it for the endorphins. And while I may not know exactly why I am doing this, what I do know is that the discomfort I feel when I run feels a lot like the discomfort I am feeling about this time in our country. A tightness in my chest, an uneasiness in my gut, twitchy muscles in my legs that feel on edge and like I want to run, but I'm not sure where to go. We are living in a moment in which I keep hearing troubling things, sound bites about Greenland and the Panama Canal, and vague, unanswered questions about military force, just to name a few. The speakers from yesterday's People's March are still ringing in my ears. Power to the people, the reminder to be there for those most impacted, the reminder that we can be so strong when we're in it together. But it was when 14-year-old Declan spoke and I thought of the young people who will inherit the legacy of this time that it hit me. I'm not just a spectator in a play. I am in it. I am inextricably bound up in all of this. Even though I can't always tell. I have had a lifetime of looking to various leaders to resolve things for me, comfortably placing the responsibility for change squarely on them, even if I didn't always like what they did. Jarring as the first 4 years of this presidency was, it still felt like it was up to someone else to fix it. This time, it feels more personal. This time, I hear others saying it feels that way to them too. This time, it seems more of us are seeing a broken system and saying, who is going to step up but us? Power to the people, responsibility to the people, regular people like you and me. But what does that look like, really? Especially when the situation feels so big and I feel so small, and maybe you do too. I ask myself, what can I do? Where is the hope? I was thinking about all this while I was doing my uncomfortable running thing on the treadmill the other day, when a favorite song of mine popped into my playlist, the theme song from the 80s movie Working Girl. Makes it tolerable. It flashed me back to a particularly hopeful time in my college days. At that time, running was all the rage, and I was pretty sure if I ran, I could do just about anything or be anyone. I would listen to that theme song, maybe you know it. Let the river run, let all the dreamers wake the nation. And I'm not going to sing more of it because it's too low. Unless I raise it a little bit, I will. It's asking for the taking, trembling, shaking. Oh, my heart is aching. We're coming to the edge, running on the water, coming through the fog, your sons and daughters. And so there I would be, running to the beat and those strings and that rising crescendo, and I was pretty sure if I just kept running, I would become Melanie Griffith. Harrison Ford would drop into my life. I would get the job, be the hero, single-handedly vanquish the bad guys, and all my life dreams would finally come true. But, and you may have already guessed the next part, even after I got myself up to 4 miles a day, that dream did not magically happen. I mean, I felt better. I was stronger. I was even doing other things that were good for me, but eventually, I don't even know exactly what happened. I got discouraged or tired. The reality wasn't matching the fantasy. The hope began to lose force. Something felt too hard, and I gave up on the running and on a bunch of other things too. The theme of this sermon is hope, but I realized as I was writing this, I can't talk about hope without talking about its opposite. Because looking back, I realized I have done that kind of thing a few times. I'd get hopeful, try something, hit resistance, get discouraged, give up. Hope, try, wear out, give up. I would think I can, then decide I can't. And I wonder if there have been times in your life when you had big dreams, big hopes, or a big heart for something that just didn't work out. You had a vision and you could feel it and you were going for it, and it just didn't materialize. Or you couldn't keep it up. Something was too hard, the cards were stacked against you, and you let go of your dream and maybe a bunch of other things too. I was thinking about what Veda wrote about the expectations placed upon her as a young person, the weight of them, the stress of them, the way these push her apart from her peers, the simple stress of what our culture asks of her and all people. Some of those force fields are pretty strong, have been around a long time, weigh on all of us, and appear insurmountable. Expectations that don't quite fit, pressure, overwhelm, judgment, negativity, even just the idea that some people are better than others and some are worse, that only some are good enough to quote unquote make it. All that can cause a person to imagine, oh, I'm not one of the ones that can make it, I must be one of the worst ones. And it can cause us to give up on all kinds of dreams. And when that happens more than once, any of us become vulnerable to giving up not just on what we think we can do, but on who we think we are. And that is a travesty. Because who are we? I think we're like our senior youth, with big hearts wanting to connect without pressure or judgment. wanting a place to be ourselves where we can surrender all of the striving and the trying to look a certain way, building trust so we can open our minds to each other and to the people we meet in other places. And I think we're like the two girls from Our Time for All Ages, glancing shyly at each other across a fence, wanting to play with one another, connect with one another, be together, be with all kinds of others from all walks of life, knowing deep in our bones that stories about some people being better and some being worse, that any stories that divide us or keep people apart are just stories. And the endings of stories can be rewritten. We don't always realize we can rewrite them until something pushes us to do it, until something asks us to be more of who we always knew we could be, until something shakes us by the shoulder and says, hey, wake up. Don't believe the lies. More is possible than you have been led to believe. We are living in a moment in which more is possible. A moment that's shaking us by the shoulder and saying, hey, wake up. A moment in which, as activist Adrienne Marie Brown told us back in 2016, things are not getting worse, they are getting uncovered. We must hold each other tight, she says, and continue to pull back the veil. And what do we see? Meanness and lies and hatred and division, blatant racism, transphobia, Islamophobia, fear of every shape and size and color designed to distract, inflame, and pull people apart from each other. It is like the lid has come off Pandora's box. And as all these demons are released into the air, I am being invited to pull back the veil in me, to dig around in my own Pandora's box with my complementary set of afflictions like discouragement, resignation, deflation, judgment, blame, as well as a few helpings of denial, righteous anger, and wishful thinking. And as a white woman particularly, I've been noticing how our dominant culture has pushed me to chase dreams of individual success, single-handed victory, and just trying to look good myself. These times are inviting us to take the lid off the box, hold each other tight, and pull back the veil, even if it feels uncomfortable, because more is possible. Because don't forget, at the bottom of that box is hope. When all the demons, the curses, and the terrors were released in that ancient story, there, underneath it all, at first invisible, almost unimaginable, but always there, never lost, was hope. Hope for something quite different than what I had been taught to imagine I should strive for. Something I now picture as much wider, far deeper, more connected, more satisfying than I could have imagined growing up. A hope not about me, but a big, wide, inclusive, justice-filled us. Not an isolating, single-handed scramble for the top, but a collective, shared, mutual, open-hearted, song-filled, rhythm-rich dance toward an inclusive justice for all. In our beloved Conversations anti-racism group, the one that Jen made an announcement for, we have been talking about what collective liberation means. I think this idea of an open-hearted, song-filled, rhythm-rich dance toward inclusive justice may be part of it. something that it seems to me my siblings of color have understood and fought for a very long time. And as we talked about this in our group, white people like us, like me, have a lot to learn about the resistance and resilience of those who have found hope even under the weight of the demons of racism and violence and harrowingly difficult circumstances. And Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King led a movement that grew out of that fundamental, crucible-fashioned hope. A movement in which people found hope in each other and in a source of love that was with them all. A movement in which people built bonds with one another that lent strength and encouragement and staying power to overcome all kinds of things, even harrowing ones. Through singing together and loving each other and committing to each other and connecting to the hope that lives underneath it all, no matter what. So at the end of all of this reflection, I realized that the running is a signal to myself that I'm willing to be uncomfortable, not because it's going to make me into Melanie Griffith and to have that whole story, but because it might make me more of me and more part of something much, much bigger than me. One thing that's interesting I've noticed after I run, I feel great. I suspect it's because I've had a chance to feel some things and sort them through. Or maybe it's the endorphins. I don't know. But either way, here is where I'm ending up. Wanting to recommit myself to following the lead of people of color who understand something that I cannot. To learning what I can, to going to those tea talks, taking it all in at the Martin Luther King event, to taking small steps and big ones to answer the call of our time. And I wonder, what is your call? What do you hear? Where is your hope? And how can we help each other find it? Let the river run. May we be the dreamers who wake the nation. Not the small dream, but the big dream, the collective dream, the justice dream, the love dream. May we trust and learn and overcome obstacles inside and around us, and let love and the hope deep inside lead the way. May it be so. Amen. Let us join together in singing hymn number 169, We Shall Overcome. Please rise in body or in spirit.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall live in peace someday.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
After our closing words, I invite you to greet one another and ask each other, or tell each other, what question you would ask Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King if he were here today, or something you'd like to do to help make a kinder community, or just say your name and say hello. From Reverend Wayne Arneson, take courage, friends. The way is often hard. The path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. But take courage, for deep down, there is another truth. You are not alone. Amen.
Ben. Ben, can you turn the microphone off, Ben? Earth to Ben. Yes. I was gonna tell. Woo. I was gonna tell people. I just don't know if people got it or not. It just went.